Good evening, parents. Welcome to our parent information evening for our Foundation 1 and 2 students. My name is Jade and I'll be taking you through the health and PE aspect of tonight's presentations. For our agenda, we're going to be covering focus areas, connection to the Victorian curriculum, my professional perspective, pedagogical frameworks, connection to industry research, and I'll take you through a lesson activity example. Fundamental movement skills, focus areas. Well, first and foremost, what are fundamental movement skills? These are essentially the building blocks that your child will need to engage in lifelong physical activity. It helps to build competent and confident participation in a range of physical activities. What we'll be focusing on today is moving the body and understanding movement. So when we look at physical education as moving the body, and we link this to the Victorian curriculum, we can land on that our foundation children should be practicing fundamental movement skills and movement sequences using different body parts in response to stimuli in indoor, outdoor, or aquatic settings, and that our 1 to 2 kids will be looking to perform the fundamental movement skills in different movement situations in outdoor, indoor, and aquatic settings. So just to mention, there is no aquatic classes in this unit. This is just how the Victorian curriculum encapsulates all of moving the body. To move on to understanding movement, we're going to be incorporating elements of effort, space, time, objects, and people in performing simple movement sequences. This will look like, for our lesson example, which I'll touch on a little bit later in the show, is just to add some obstacles or some constraints to see if your children can still confidently partake in these activities. My personal professional experience perspective is that moving the body in a way which is enjoyable to the agent can help to curate enjoyment for lifelong physical activity. So the most important thing about movement and physical activity is you need to be enjoying it. So if you're a runner, you wouldn't be spending hours and hours lifting weights in the gym as an adult. So similarly, if a student is in love with football, we wouldn't be, only focusing on tennis. So we need to cater for a wide range of student needs just to make sure that all of our students are enjoying physical activity. Gaining a deep understanding of how to correctly execute fundamental movement skills can lead to a more enjoyable physical activity and involvement in community sport. And engaging in moving the body in a way that is enjoyable can have incredible beneficial effects to mental, social, physical health and well-being. Having a look at some pedagogical frameworks, I'm going to be focusing on the 5E frameworks and HITS, which is high impact teaching strategies. So what I've done here is I've paired one of the 5Es to one of the HITS. So to explore and explicit teaching. So giving students an opportunity to explore different fundamental movement skills, different movement patterns, and ways in which they can move their body, which is enjoyable to them, but also having an educator who knows how to perform these tasks and how to explicitly teach it can help students form a positive relationship with lifelong physical activity. Engage in multiple exposures. So both of these go hand in hand. So engaging students in PE is crucial to this lifelong commitment to physical activity. Essentially, what we need to do is we need to make sure that the students are engaged and that they're enjoying it. And a way that we can do that is to expose them to the activity or fundamental movement skill over and over again. Elaborating collaborative learning. So once students are comfortable with fundamental movement skills, movement patterns, and are enjoying PE, we can elicit their prior knowledge to start to develop concepts of alterations and questioning and what they can do in the classroom to work collaboratively with their peers to make sure they're getting everything done. Connection to industry research. So there's an article from Thompson et al. From 2017 that suggests that pedagogical approaches that promote individual self-determination and personal development increased fundamental movement skills and physical activity. Fundamental movement skill intervention has led to increased and sustained physical activity, which is awesome. So when these students are confident in performing these fundamental movement skills, they're more likely to engage in physical activity on a longer scale. Fundamental movement skills and physical activity pedagogies have been reported to be to have a bidirectional relationship, which enhances the other long term. Having a look at an article published by Fisher et al. In 2005, they state that FMS and habitual physical activity are closely related in formative years. So, similar to the previous research, if a student is confident with fundamental movement skills, they're more likely to engage in habitual and lifelong physical activity. Students who feel confident executing fundamental movement skills tend to voluntarily participate in vigorous activity, which is amazing. This is what we need for our kids. There's a significant positive relationship between fundamental movement skills and habitual physical activity. A bit like the previous research, they go hand in hand. One exists and it enhances the other. And relationships between fundamental movement skills and physical activity can be dependent on factors such as gender, socioeconomic status, age, and demographic. So the final part of research that we're going to look at is an article from 2021 from Brown and Whittle. They claim that movement and physical activity is fundamentally crucial to health and physical education. So they're arguing here that physical literacy should be integrated into the Australian and Victorian curriculum for health and PE. So integration of physical literacy could result in development and maintenance of habitual movement, physical activity and confidence, which is a great win. That's a big win for our kids. So this just sort of rounds out some of the current research that we have available within the space. Now I'm going to take you through a lesson activity example of what your children might be learning in my class. This could look like an activity such as walking the plank. I know it sounds scary, but the plank will just be a bit of masking tape on the floor. So their physical and psychological safety are all catered for here. So in this activity, some learning outcomes could be that students are learning how to move in locomotor patterns while working on their balance, dexterity, and confidence. So for the curriculum outcomes, they're the same ones that we mentioned a little bit earlier. So it's that practicing and refining that fundamental movement skills, those fundamental movement patterns from our foundation to our 1s and 2s as well. So practicing these skills to be able to refine and fine-tune those fundamental movement skills. So a summary, students will be grouped into 4. One person will be walking the plank at any given time. The plank will be some masking tape on the floor, and the length will vary between grades. So our foundation kids aren't going to have a 10-meter plank in front of them. Will be a shorter distance, maybe about 4 meters. So there will be additional planks available for children who require differentiation. That will look like some zigzag planks or some planks with gaps in them for our more advanced students, and some shorter planks and thicker planks for our developing students there, because we want to make sure that everyone is really enjoying this health and PE curriculum. So each group will have a set of cards as well, showing them what they can add or take away from the plank to support student collaboration and confidence. Some examples could be that the person who's walking the plank might need to touch their head or balance a beanbag on their head, or high-five somebody at the halfway mark. So educators will advise when the group is switching between locomotor activities, but some of them that we will be doing is walking, crawling, running, skipping, and jumping. And students are encouraged to support their peers on the plank, and all students will be engaged while they are not actively walking the plank. So that's really important in my PE classes, is that everybody is involved. So with that is the end of today's session on health and PE. I thank you all for your time and for coming along and tuning in. We'll see you around school.